Welcome to the Stygian Stilettos Gamer channel. This is Stygian Sis. Please like, share, and subscribe, and find me at twitter.com/StygianSis. Hey, Final Fantasy fam, this your girl Stygian Stilettos Gamer, aka Stygian Sis. I have TifaTheMonk with me again. How are you today, Monk?
I'm doing great. It's been a minute since we've done our last podcast, so I'm excited to be able to do this with you again.
Yeah, it feels like forever. I can't even remember the last one we did, but we're back again. So hope everybody's prepared because we are quite opinionated, but we back up our opinions with facts. So let's get started on this. First, we'd like to introduce Clotiween. That will be starting next week. Monk, if you just want to give us a little rundown on how Clotiween is going to work for 2022.
Okay, so Clotiween is going to be running from October 24th to the 28th, which, as you said, is next week. And we have prompts listed on our events Twitter page, which is Cloud Tifa Events at Twitter. And just take a look at our pinned tweet. We have all the prompts listed there. And basically, we just encourage anyone and everyone who wants to join in and participate. There's no prerequisites for participating. You can create whatever your favorite medium of creation is, whether you're a fanfic writer or if you're an artist. We also accept PC mods. Video edits, anything like that, we will accept. Also, handmade crafts. I know there's a few members of the FF7 fandom that also excel at making handmade crafts, so those are also welcome. And we will retweet your fan art or your fan fiction. And it's just a really fun event. And I know Halloween is very popular, and it's a really fun event. We did it last year. It was a huge success, and so we're hoping for another big year this time.
Yeah, I remember. I believe that was our first year, and I had a ton of fun. There was some great fan fictions that came out of it, great fan art. So yeah, it's going to be a great time, and I will have information for it pinned on my Twitter page when this comes up. So feel free to also check there if you're not sure exactly where to go. I'll also have the information in the description of this video. So, all right. So the topic we want to do today, and I suppose we would consider this an LTD Mythbusters. There was this discussion comes up periodically. It has ever since I've joined the fandom. I'm sure it's come up ever since Kingdom Hearts came out of whether the spinoff games, what ship do they support? Do they support any ship? Is it Cloudy? Is it Clerith? What exactly is the truth? Because we do see a lot of people in the fandom on the Clerith side who claim that Kingdom Hearts supports Clerith as a ship, but based on what we understand the game to be, that does not necessarily seem to be the case. So, Monk, I don't if you just want to kind of give us, your summary of what you've seen as far as what Clerith is saying or pointing to their ship when it relates to Kingdom Hearts, and then we can start kind of correcting the record.
Absolutely. So, funny fact, I actually was introduced to Final Fantasy VII through Kingdom Hearts. I actually started out, my very first Square Enix game that I played was Kingdom Hearts. So, I was actually introduced to these characters through this series. And as such, you're kind of left with a little bit of a different impression of these characters because, talk to any FF7 fan, they'll complain about the portrayals of the characters as done in Kingdom Hearts. And I know there are quite a few people in the Clerith fandom that will claim that Kingdom Hearts is Clerith, which is why they all will transfer that belief over to the Final Fantasy, canon. They'll say, oh, well, Clerith was canon in Kingdom Hearts, so therefore FF7 must be Clerith. Well, And oftentimes the response from the CloTi fandom will be, well, Kingdom Hearts isn't canon to FF7, so therefore it doesn't matter. But I'll go a step further and say it's not even canon in Kingdom Hearts.
At all.
It's fully versed in at least the parts. I mean, I haven't played every single Kingdom Hearts game. I've played, I'd say, maybe about 85% of all the Kingdom Hearts games. But I am fully versed on all of the story and lore of at least Cloud, Tifa, and Aerith as it pertains to Kingdom Hearts. And I can tell you, Kingdom Hearts is not Clerith.
Just to...
And this is another thing. This is another thing where people who will say that Kingdom Hearts is Clerith, they love to ignore huge parts of the story and the lore, much like they do with the, original FF7. They'll hyperfixate on one point and they'll ignore literally everything else. And I've said this before in other podcasts, and I'll say it again. If you want the full picture, you got to look at everything. And when you look at everything, the picture becomes way more clear. And it becomes quite obvious that Kingdom Hearts is actually cloudy, not Clerith. And we'll go through all of the evidence here. But also, let me preface at least the argument for Kingdom Hearts 1, which I think gives Clerith the strongest standing that they can possibly get as far as it pertains to Kingdom Hearts, because Tifa was not yet added to the roster, so it's just Aerith. At that point, the only FF7 characters are Cloud, Sephiroth, Aerith, Yuffie, and Sid.
Leon.
No, Leon is FF8.
Oh, is he? Oh, 7 characters. Sorry, I thought yes. Characters in general. I was like, Leon's in there. Okay, okay.
If we go through the roster of all the FF characters, they'll be here all day.
Yeah.
we even have Tidus, and we have...
I was going to say, I believe Waka might be in the first one, too.
Yeah,
a selfie. Yeah.
Destiny Islands. Mm-hmm. So, yeah. There's all kinds of FF, cameos. But, in Kingdom Hearts, they are only side characters, so, it's only so deep the storyline goes for even the FF7 characters. There is a storyline there, but it's very briefly touched upon because they are not the main focus of the game. The main focus of the game is on Sora and his journey, and the main characters from the Kingdom Hearts franchise. They are there, to serve a purpose, but it's a very small purpose, a very small role in the story.
Yes, I'd argue it's mostly fan service, honestly.
It's mostly fan service. And to go further on that point, Nomura himself explained Tifa's absence in Kingdom Hearts 1 because he actually did have a whole storyline, as it pertains to Tifa in Kingdom Hearts 1. So she was supposed to be in that first installment, but because of time constraints, her part was cut. And Aerith was not going to be in the game at all, but because of staff members, they basically... Nomura said he was pressured into it by staff members saying, oh, we love Aerith, can you add Aerith to the game? And so Aerith was basically shoehorned into Kingdom Hearts 1 because there were staff members of that Nomura, was pressured into adding her in.
And that makes sense because, Aerith dies in Disc 1, and Tifa's there throughout the whole game. She's the one that ends up with Cloud. She was in Air Guys. Aerith had a little cameo in Final Fantasy Tactics, which came out the same year as Final Fantasy 7, if I'm not mistaken. But it was like a tiny cameo. I don't even think they actually gave her a name. They just called her Flower Girl or something, so she didn't get anything. So I do get that as well, why they would be a little more inclined to at least throw her in to give a shout out to those fans, especially if the staff wanted that as well. But it definitely doesn't surprise me that Tifa was supposed to have a whole storyline because that would make sense.
Yes.
And I was just going to say, you were introduced by Kingdom Hearts. Of course, everyone knows I played OG first and pretty much played OG right before Kingdom Hearts came out. I believe Kingdom Hearts 1 came out in 2002, or I believe it's 2002, something around there. And so as an OG fan, when I played it, I was under no such impression that anything was going on between. I mean, basically, he just had a conversation with her, and I honestly find this whole thing shocking. So I'm actually happy that I get to get a different perspective when I talk to you about what your initial impressions were and how you came to the conclusion that you came to. Plus, how you found, of course, you have a lot more context because you know about the Nomura interviews and stuff. So this is going to be a fascinating conversation.
Yes. Well, and here's the thing too, is that Kingdom Hearts, at least, it's one of those games where it undergoes, small little changes, with each, new release that they put out. So the original Kingdom Hearts did not have the Sephiroth part included. And now this is important because there was a talking point put out by Clerith that when you encounter Cloud in the Colosseum, it becomes clear he is searching for something, searching for someone. And the talking point from Clerith was, he's looking for Aerith. No, she's his light. That was the whole premise for their conversation, is that Cloud is looking for his light, and he's looking for Aerith because she symbolizes his light. And that was a whole thing for a long time. But when you encounter Aerith in Traverse Town, Aerith is actually, when she talks about Cloud, she says, "I wonder if he's found it, if he's found him yet." And talking about Cloud searching for something. So, if Aerith is aware that Cloud is searching, and she's also saying it's not her, then who was he actually looking for? Well, you get that answer in the next release of Kingdom Hearts, where at the end is included a one final battle between Cloud and Sephiroth in the Colosseum. And one of Sephiroth's lines is, "So I hear you've been looking for me." So you get your answer that who Cloud was actually looking for was not even his light. He was searching for Sephiroth.
Yes.
Because he wanted to, much like, it's very much a callback to the OG, he wants to settle the score. He thinks if he can defeat Sephiroth, he can get rid of his darkness.
Yes, and though these games are not canon to the FF7 storyline, it does mirror some things that go on, and this is very important as well, because for those who say the only reason he had something to settle with Sephiroth was because of Aerith, or that was the primary reason, well then why is he trying to settle the score with Sephiroth in Kingdom Hearts when Aerith is standing right there? So, once again, just flies in the face of of logic to believe that forget the whole, you killed my mother, forget you burned down my hometown, you almost killed my girlfriend over here, like, I'm only upset over Aerith. That just flies in the face of logic,
Yep. And that's basically the there's another line that's often quoted by Clerith to support their whole talking point. It was a statement made by Nomura where he says, yes, of course, Kingdom Hearts is separate from, the FF7 OG canon, but, you can look at the interactions between, the characters, specifically Cloud and Aerith, and, decide what their relationship is from that. And you say, oh, well, that sounds like that's a confirmation, until you look at the actual interactions between Cloud and Aerith, which is next to nothing. You get this little scene at the very end. I believe it's in the credits of the first game, and Aerith is in the library, and Cloud meets up with her there. She leans in, he leans away, and that's your entire scene right there. They meet up in the library and they have a little chat.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
That's your big moment there, where you can finally prove that Clerith is a thing because they're talking in a library.
Yes, and about that thing about him leaning away. Yes, and the thing about him leaning away, or when she gets in his face, he leans back. They continued that tradition inside of Remake. You see it multiple times where he does the exact same thing. He does not like people in his orbit. The only person he doesn't do that with 99% of the time is Tifa. I can only think of 3 times where he did it when he was ashamed of something, or he was trying to, like Alone at Last, when she was asking about the war, like something he's a conversation he's uncomfortable with. Then he kind of does that. When she asked him what he did after he left the village, he turned away from her. He very rarely does that. It's got to be something he's ashamed of or something he doesn't want to talk about for him to do it with Tifa. Whereas he just does that with everybody else. He's like, please back up.
It's not just Tifa leaning into him, but where he will turn away. He only turns away if he's ashamed.
Yes.
Or embarrassed by something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Instead of backing away with a scowl on his face because somebody is invading his personal bubble.
Yes, and he does, and again, it's nothing unique to Aerith. He does it with Jesse. He does it with anybody who like jumps in his face. It's like, whoa, back up.
For Aerith, she's just like everyone else that's in his orbit, including his friends. You know, I mean, Aerith is a friend of his.
Yes.
I'm not at all claiming that. Oh, he just hates Aerith, or
no,
he's just annoyed with her. I think she annoys him a little bit, obviously. Because, you know, she's constantly invading his space, but he also views her as a friend.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I just think it's silly to even argue about it. He clearly does. He wouldn't be that upset about her death if he just didn't care about her at all. He'd be like, whatever, keep it moving.
But it's very much a callback to the way his personality is, where, you know, somebody will lean in and he kind of backs away because he's got his little personal bubble that he likes. So yeah, it was a commentary on their relationship. It was a very obvious commentary on their relationship, and it was exactly what we saw from FF7, especially Remake, where you were able to physically see, you know, that Cloud likes his personal space, and Aerith kind of likes to invade it.
Yeah. It was just, yeah.
So that was your commentary on that relationship. And the reason why they spent any time focusing on it is because Aerith was basically the only one that was there. Tifa was not there, so if they wanted to have any sort of little, you know, fan servicey moment between FF7 characters, those were the two that they were going to pick.
No,
they're not going to have a moment with him and like Sid or Yuffie. If Aerith is there, they're going to say, okay, well, here's two huge FF7 characters. Let's throw a little scene in there with them.
Yeah. So that's where the origin of this is. Basically, Cloud and Aerith had a conversation at the end of the game. And then I think they were shown in the credits. And that seems to be, whenever this conversation comes up, that seems to be the bulk of what I'm getting out of why, like he says he'll, no, you know, he's, and I think in Kingdom Hearts 2 he says, you know, I'll come back. Okay. Is there anything else? I mean, is that it? Like they have a conversation at the end?
Yeah, well, actually, that I'll come back conversation doesn't even happen in Kingdom Hearts 1. That happens in Kingdom Hearts 2.
Yeah, that happens in Kingdom Hearts 2. But I'm saying in Kingdom Hearts 1, like, I'm just saying they had a conversation in the library.
That's literally it. That is the only moment they're on screen together, because the bulk of Cloud's screen time on Kingdom Hearts 1 is when he's in the Coliseum and he's being used by Hades.
Yes, and in fact, doesn't she have more interaction with Leon, or am I misremembering that?
Absolutely, yeah. Like Aerith has infinitely more screen time with Leon, because Leon is there in Traverse Town, along with Yuffie and Sid. And even in the manga, if you've read the manga, the bulk of her conversations and the bulk of her, you know, time in the manga is spent in conversations with either Sora, or she's talking to Leon, or Yuffie, or Sid.
Yeah, and that seems very curious to me. If her supposed lover is in the same game, but they're having no interaction, she's not even looking for. Like I'm sure she could find out where he is if she wanted to. He knows where she's at clearly. So I'm just like, okay, that's a little odd that they would be giving her all this screen time with all these other characters, but not, you know, whereas like Tifa's spending her whole time looking for Cloud. Yeah.
Exactly. And so now here's where things get really interesting when we start getting into Kingdom Hearts 2. This is where all the little pieces fall into place. So you know how we said earlier that the big talking point with Clerith was that Aerith was Cloud's light?
Yes.
Well, Kingdom Hearts 2 has the answer. And the answer is Tifa. They made
shocking.
Tifa, yes, Tifa's introduction to Kingdom Hearts comes in Kingdom Hearts 2, and she is introduced in Hollow Bastion looking for Cloud. She's searching high and low for him. She's breaking down walls. She's looking in trash cans for him. It's really funny, especially in the manga where they just have this one. I've cracked this joke before of just Tifa looking for Cloud in the trash.
Yes, and in fact, I love the introduction. I do remember this, where she's like, "I'm looking for a guy with spiky hair," and Sora's like, then he like touch his hair or something. She's like, "Spikier." That's super cute.
But and of course, you also meet up with Cloud in Hollow Bastion, and a point of note is that both Cloud and Tifa are wearing their Advent Children outfits.
Mm-hmm.
Parts 2.
Which happened to match.
And if you look at developer interviews surrounding Cloud and Tifa in Kingdom Hearts 2, they are very much supposed to have a storyline that is reflective of Advent Children.
Yes.
Because since Tifa is the physical embodiment of Cloud's light, and this isn't just some fan headcanon, this is directly from developer interviews discussing the nature of Tifa in Kingdom Hearts. They say there's a possibility she's not even human, and that really only Sora and company can see her in Cloud, because she is a physical manifestation of Cloud's light. That's what his light looks like.
That sounds super platonic. In fact, since we're on this topic,
not to let me find this interview again. I have searched high and low for it, but I read an interview it's about a year and a half ago now, from Nojima, where he discusses Tifa and says that if anything were to happen to Tifa, Cloud would turn into a Heartless. Tifa is the only thing keeping Cloud from falling completely to the dark.
Yes, which again makes sense. I mean, this is literally her role in Final Fantasy VII. The reason Cloud loses himself is because he thinks that Tifa's lost faith in him. Tifa never did, of course. She almost dies trying to save him, and she ultimately saves his heart from the darkness that is Sephiroth, who has been telling him that he isn't a real person. That has been her role, is to save him. And she has always been the barrier between Cloud and Sephiroth. Because, and they do say this, is that Cloud is just, she supports the emotionally weak side of him. And his resolve is not enough to fend off Sephiroth's sway. He needs Tifa, that one person in the whole world who knows he is Cloud Strife of Nibelheim, to keep him grounded. So yeah. And let me just read this little description here. So in the games guide, it says Tifa Lockhart is a playable character from Final Fantasy VII. She is a skilled martial arts expert and uses her fists, clad in special gloves, as weapons. Tifa and Cloud are childhood friends, but their quote-unquote relationship is rather complicated. Her look in Kingdom Hearts 2 is modeled on her appearance in the Final Fantasy VII Advent Children movie, which takes place 2 years after the events of 7. Now, of course, anybody who knows Advent Children knows that at this point in time, they are in a relationship. They just built a house. They got 2 kids now that they adopted. Well, one that they're looking, I would say, arguing, one they're looking after for a friend, obviously Barrett. But one, they just flat out adopted. The kid is homeless. You know what I mean? Denzel had no family until they took him in. So yeah, if you know Advent Children, there's a reason they changed. They not only put Tifa in her Advent Children outfit, but to switch Cloud's outfit up, especially when Cloud's outfit was really popular out of Kingdom Hearts 1. So that's a really purposeful decision in my mind, to just completely change his look, because they specifically wanted to show these two as like a unit. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
absolutely. And to continue on with that point is that kind of following along the Kingdom Hearts 2 storyline. I'm just kind of talking you through it. you also encounter Cloud in Hollow Bastion. In fact, everyone from Traverse Town is in Hollow Bastion in Kingdom Hearts 2. So Cid's there, Yuffie's there, Leon and Aerith are also in Hollow Bastion. But you encounter Cloud separate from Aerith. Aerith is sticking around with Cid, Yuffie, and Leon. But Cloud has decided to kind of go off on his own. And he is still searching for Sephiroth. And you don't really see it a whole lot in the actual game, but it's later described that he's actually running away from his light as well. Which is why Tifa is looking for him, because she is his light and she's searching for him. Yeah. And to continue on with another interview, I believe this was also Nojima who wrote this. He said that this storyline in Kingdom Hearts 2 is reflective of Advent Children. The mood and the setting is kind of similar, where Cloud is running away from something warm in Advent Children. Tifa, of course, being that warm. And that carries over into Kingdom Hearts 2. Because she is his light, he's fleeing away from it because of that. This just part of his personality in that story in that stage of his life. I'm trying to find the right words here.
Yes.
But because he doesn't feel like he's worthy. He feels like a failure, so he runs away from the warmth. He runs away from the light, and that leaves him vulnerable to Sephiroth. But Cloud, of course, wanting to take care of everything on his own, goes off to confront Sephiroth. And he does the same thing in Kingdom Hearts 2, where he's searching for Sephiroth. He thinks that if he can take down Sephiroth, the darkness will go away. In fact, that's one of his lines in Kingdom Hearts 2 when he finally meets up with Sephiroth again. And that is where he meets up with Tifa. Tifa finally catches up with him when he goes to confront Sephiroth. And Sephiroth and Tifa have their own separate little standoff, because Sephiroth, much like Tifa, is also not really physically there. He's the physical manifestation of Cloud's darkness.
And so it's like that good angel, bad angel on your shoulders.
Absolutely. The yin and the yang, they are essentially two sides of the same coin. You have the darkness and the light, and both of those are embodied by Sephiroth and by Tifa. And so the two of them kind of have a standoff. Tifa's basically telling Sephiroth to back off, and Sephiroth, draws his sword, starts attacking Tifa, and Cloud kind of snaps out of it and goes, "No!" And he jumps in front of Tifa to block off Sephiroth's attacks. And Tifa, having this kind of verbal sparring with Sephiroth, says, well, Sephiroth starts off by saying something along the lines of, I'm kind of ad-libbing here, that, Cloud will never let go of the darkness, and Tifa tells him he doesn't have to, he just needs someone to surround him with light. The darkness will still be there, but in a place where you can't reach.
Oh, I just loved him. Oh. I'm sorry, I'm having the time of my life listening to this.
And I forget exactly the line after that. You could probably put the clip in at some point. In the podcast.
I know she does say, "You can have my light," and that's when Cloud.
And Cloud says, "I don't know," but it shows that he accepts it, because then he immediately starts glowing.
Yes.
And Sephiroth, of course, freaks out and goes, "No!" because he knows he's about to. And the two of them just leap up into the air, and they continue fighting, and then they disappear. Well, after they disappear, I forget exactly the conversation, but Tifa starts talking with Sora and says, that he went off to fight, Sephiroth or something, and she says she'll continue searching for him, but light is easy to find. Basically showing that she knows that he's going to win.
Yes. And let me just, because I'm looking at it now. Let's see. Tifa, stay back. Oh, how can I? I want to help you. You can't. He'll never let go of the darkness. So this is what you were telling us. He doesn't have to. He just needs someone to surround him with light. So you're pretty spot on with that. And then the darkness will be there, Sephiroth, but in a place you can't reach. Because Tifa, and I'd like to stop there, because Tifa understands Cloud is who he is, you know. And he's a culmination of all his experience. He's not only just the person who he was, he's, you know, the things that he dealt with growing up, and then all the trauma that he experienced, all the loss. There's a part of Cloud's heart that does, and I know this is a Kingdom Hearts thing, but I think it does reflect Cloud as a character. There is a part of him that has this darkness that weighs him down, and Tifa lifts that weight whenever he allows her in. She lifts that weight, and it allows him to, you know, do the impossible, you know, and live his life being happy. But like you said, he often just feels unworthy or something like that, and he allows his emotions to get to him. So that's why the developer says she supports that emotionally weak side of him. So yeah, this is reflected here as well. And then yeah, she has a little exchange with Sephiroth. The light doesn't suit you. Let's see. Oh, okay. So he says the light doesn't suit you. And then that's when he starts glowing. Yeah, he says, I don't know. That's what you said. And then Sephiroth says stop. They have their little, you know, sword thing. And okay, so yes, you said they start talking to Tifa, and she says, gone again. What will you do now? I guess I'll keep looking. Got any leads? Don't worry. Light is easy to find. Yeah, so you're spot on with that. Sorry to go into it. I just want to narrate that.
No, I appreciate that, because I was going solidly from memory, so I was kind of butchering some of it, but and I was missing a lines of dialogue. But that does help me out a little bit there.
Yeah, it was good. And then she hands Sora something for helping her. Oh yeah, she hands him something helping her. And this is the
point I was gonna make, is that after all of that is complete, Tifa gifts Sora with a new Keyblade. And guess what the Keyblade is? Oh. It's a Keyblade called Fenrir. Which is the name of the bike.
Yeah, Fenrir, the bike that Tifa bought him, by the way. Just want to throw that out there.
So you get this Cloud themed Keyblade from Tifa after all this is over.
And why would she have it in the first place?
Exactly.
It's almost like there's a connection between these two. Yeah, that's you know, look. And look, by the way, we're not trying to be Debbie Downers about this. We really aren't. I know people see this LTD Mythbusters like, oh, they're just trying to shit on everything. That's clear. It's like, no, the problem is, my problem with it is, if you're going to claim something is evidence of your ship, if that's something that matters to you, and it doesn't matter to everybody, but if it happens to matter to you, what I don't like is people using evidence, quote unquote evidence, that doesn't actually exist. Yes, Cloud and Aerith have a little conversation, and yeah, that exists, that's fine, but it's no more than that. My problem is people taking something minor and extrapolating it into not only evidence of a canon ship inside of Kingdom Hearts, but then transferring these false, pieces of evidence or exaggerated pieces of evidence into meaning something larger to the actual canon story of Final Fantasy VII.
Absolutely.
That's, and I keep telling people this: if you really want the ship war stuff to end, you got to start telling the truth. You don't have to be an asshole about it. But you got to be like, look, dude, this actually is not true. And you're basing a lot of opinions on something that did not happen. You know what I mean? Well, Kingdom Hearts 2 clearly shows you who the romantic interest is. to the point where even the game guide is like, yeah, they have a complicated relationship. I mean, and like you said, Nojima and Nomura are saying these quotes that point to something more, and then when you put it in conjunction with everything that we know about reunion, Avid Children, reunion files, the books around Avid Children, it paints a different picture. I understand I will give this, if I had absolutely no context and I just saw Cloud talking to some chick at the end of the game, I'm gonna wonder, like, who is she? How did they know? They clearly know each other. How did they know each other? That's a natural question to ask. I'm sure you had the same question.
Yeah, I did.
But once you know.
I didn't have the context. I had no background knowledge of these characters at all. My only exposure to them at that point was through Kingdom Hearts, and so that's what led me to be curious about FF7, because I wanted to know more about these characters. I wanted to know the backstories, and once I did, it became a lot more obvious what was going on.
Yes, and I mean, I would have had the same question with Leon. Like, how does she know Leon? Who is Leon? Where is he from? Because as we said, she has way more interaction with him.
I legitimately thought that Leon was supposed to be Aerith's love interest in Kingdom Hearts, because that was always with. That was who she was always portrayed with. That's who, she was always talking to. So I seriously thought there was something going on between her and Leon, and imagine my shock when I found out they weren't even from the same game.
Exactly. I mean, and like I said, you definitely see, even if you're just talking friendship, you see a lot more friendship happening, in my opinion, with these. I mean, you just see almost no interaction between Cloud and Aerith. So I just find it wild. And then another thing that bothers me is not even beyond this, is, then when we talk about Strife family, I was saying that we're trying to steal Denzel or steal Marlene for our Strife family, as if they aren't literally raising these kids together. I mean, this is in the story. But every time Sora is on my timeline, I've got to see somebody talking about how Sora is a Clerith baby. And I'm like, for one, she would have been 8 years old, Cloud would have been 7. No, you don't find that creepy at all? I'm like, it's like, what kind of headcanon is this? And then it, like, legit treating Sora and Roxas, and it's a lot of times even Denzel and Marlene, like, as their children or spirit children. So it's like, okay, and that's cute if you're just, doing kind of, what would a Clerith baby look like? That's just fandom stuff. That's fine. But I feel like a lot of people are taking this a little on the serious side. And that is my problem.
That's the crazy thing, is that they'll sit there and they'll legitimately try to make these arguments, and I'm sitting here as a Kingdom Hearts fan going, Sora has a mother. You don't see her on screen, but you hear her talking to him. And it's not...
I mean, do we have to explain why a 7 and 8 year old is not having a kid in a Kingdom Hearts game? I mean,
what horrible mother would Aerith be? Because it's not like Aerith and Sora don't have any interaction or any context between their interactions in the game. They meet, they become friends. So how weird would that be if Aerith is supposed to be his mother, but she acts like she doesn't know this guy until he pops up in Traverse Town? Like, it's so ridiculous. It's nonsensical. And here's the thing, like you said, if they just treated it like it's some fun little joke or whatever, then that'd be one thing. But they take it so seriously to the point where they do fan art for it, and they're taking little figurines and going, oh my god, look, it's their family. And it's like, it's just cringe at that point. I'm sorry.
Well, and what drives me crazy, again, if this was all that was going on, I mean, I might find it annoying as a Kingdom Hearts fan, but in general, like, this wouldn't be a talking point for me.
I'm more annoyed because I am a Kingdom Hearts fan, and I'm just looking going, please leave Sora out of this. Don't involve him in the damn LTD, please.
Exactly. I mean, it's just nonsense. And again, I get if you're just having fun headcanons about, what would a baby look like, and Sora has the blue eyes and the dark hair, so you're like, okay, well, even though Tifa and Cloud could just as easily produce the same child, but okay, let's just pretend genealogy doesn't exist. There was somebody the other day who was like, they just want so badly for Tifa to have that maternal figure role. It's like, what? I mean, like,
I had to laugh.
That's what.
I was like, okay.
It's like, so we are the delusional ones because we think that Cloud and Tifa are actually raising 2 children together. And Tifa is said to be the mother of his family. Tifa is said to play the maternal role to these children. Like, these are Nojima, Nomura, Ultimania quotes. Like, I'm not pulling this out of my ass on a spin-off. It's not, and let's be clear. Kingdom Hearts is not even a spin-off. Okay? A spin-off is something that would still be happening generally. I would maybe call Dissidia and those games spin-offs. Kingdom Hearts is its own game with cameos from these characters. So let's
exactly.
I also want to just, so we're not even talking in the same realm. Like, there's no connection whatsoever, period. Okay, with the Final Fantasy VII or Final Fantasy universe, let alone, you know what I'm saying? It's just cameos for these characters. Like I said, fan service. So for you to be taking stuff, like, you're taking cameo appearances and headcanons over what literally occurs in the actual lore of Final Fantasy VII. You know, that's where you start. That's where you're just like being an asshole and gaslighting. That's where I get annoyed. It's like you're laughing at me. Like, I just there's somebody who I put up this is a pro Tifa tweet. I didn't say anything bad about anybody. I didn't say anything bad about Clinton. Nothing. And this person quote retweets me with some drooling, dude or whatever, where he's trying to fit a square peg in a round hole. And, and I'm like, what did I say exactly that was incorrect? Business owner, fighter, friend, adoptive mother. She's Cloud's lover. I'm sure that's what they had a problem with, but I'm just saying that's what drives it. So when we do these let me get back to the point. When we do these LTD Mythbusters, it is because these are topics that come up constantly in this fandom. And if you're going to, if you're just going to be a fan and be a shipper, cool. But if you're going to actually be debating lore and what actually supports the canon material, or what the canon materials support as far as shipping, then you've got to come up with something better than Cloud and Aerith had a conversation at the end of Kingdom Hearts and therefore they're a couple. That's crazy. This is crazy. I'm sorry.
Yes. Well, it's just another one of those examples of just making a mountain out of a molehill and then doing the vice versa, taking a mountain and treating it like it was a molehill. That is, and I said this before and I'll say it again, the bar set for Cloudy is extraordinarily high. Like, they are living together, they are raising children together, they have confirmed mutual romantic feelings for each other, they've loved each other for years, and in every single spin-off they're portrayed in very close connection with each other, often very romantically coded, just like Kingdom Hearts, just like every time they're in a game together, it's always shown with that romantic context.
Yep.
It's not just them having a conversation. They are always very closely tied together, and their fates are tied together, all of it.
To the point where they're dying for each other one.
That is not enough, but somehow Cloud and Aerith having a conversation in a library outdoes everything else. And that to me is just, it boggles me. I'm just sitting here going, okay, they had a conversation in a library. They are the epitome of the Bob's Burgers memes where they say, oh, they're a cute couple, and the other guy says, well, they're certainly standing next to each other. That is
yeah.
That is the very crux of the problem here, is that why is the bar so incredibly high for Cloudy, where they are just literally living together, raising a family together? Cloud calls Tifa his family, and Nojima, when he's discussing Cloud and Tifa in Advent Children, he says, I don't intend to get on my views on love and marriage, talking in context about Cloud and Tifa. He discusses love and marriage.
Yeah,
but somehow Cloud and Aerith having a conversation that's not even about romance, it's just about his guilt, letting what he feels responsible for her death, And she's like, oh, you need to forgive yourself. And once he gets through that, then it's fine. Then all of a sudden, that is the peak romance right there, is him, letting go of his guilt.
I'm sorry, but if I died and my lover was finally able to talk to me, and first off, he had built another woman a house and been shacking up with her for 2 years. And then the only thing he can come up to say to me, he won't even look at me. And the only thing he can think to say to me is, I want forgiveness. Now that I love you, I missed you, I wish it were her instead of you. I mean, none of this. This is like, hey, can you forgive me so I can move on with my life? I'm just saying.
Yeah.
And that's why they went ballistic over that Maiden episode. I mean, girl, I don't know if you remember. Oh man, they were mad about that Maiden episode because I pointed out something similar with that. I mean, we pointed out something similar with that. It's like, even in your precious Maiden, Aerith says, I'm jealous of Tifa because she's going to be the one to get to live on with Cloud, and she's the only one that can reach his heart. I mean, so even Aerith is telling you that this ain't happening. It's just like, okay. Well, whatever. I mean, like I said, people are perfectly fine to ship whatever they want to, but it's when you start lying about evidence that I have a problem.
Yeah, and in the spirit of fairness, let's discuss what exactly happens in Kingdom Hearts 2 between Cloud and Aerith. It won't take but a minute because that's all the screen time they have together.
Okay.
So this happens before his whole interaction with Sephiroth and T. He's off in Hall Bastion, and Aerith approaches him, and she starts, talking about, you're ready to. God damn it! I might need you to pull up the dialogue for this.
Yeah, I can. Because this is one thing they like to bring up too, is that he says he'll come back, and it's like, okay.
Yeah, I don't want to butcher the dialogue here, so feel free to.
Because they'll, yeah.
But basically what she says is, it feels like you're going away again. He says, but even if you go, you'll come back, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he answers back, and he doesn't sound very sure. And she calls him out on it. He says, yeah, I guess. And she's like, you don't sound so sure. And she says, well, go settle your past, and I'll be here cheering for you.
Cloud looks so moody in this game. Like his eyes, he is glaring like the whole time. And he does it again, because he did this in Kingdom Hearts 1, where she leans into his face and he backs away. That is a constant thing he does with her. But yes. So he says, I don't want you involved. You mean you don't want me there when you go away again? Listen, if I ever go far away, I'll come back. Even if I go far away, I'll come back. Do you mean it? Yeah. See? You don't look so sure. Well, okay, I understand. Go get things settled. And by get things settled, means settle with Sephiroth. Huh? No matter how far away you are, once you find your light, I'm sure it will lead you back here again, right? And where is here again? Where are they at? I suppose. Yeah. He says, I suppose. So I'll stay here and I'll cheer for you. Okay, Cloud? Okay. And he walks away. Now, look, yeah, is it a nice exchange? Sure, it's like two friends. I mean, but that's literally what's happening. Like, she's like, hey, look, go find your light. I'll support, I support you going to find, settling things with Sephiroth and going to find your light. You know where to find me when you get back. Okay, that's
exactly.
It's only romantic if you come into it looking at it to be romantic. You know what I'm saying?
And here's the thing too, is that once you realize who his light is, it changes the entire context of the conversation. Or rather, I should say, it adds the context to the conversation.
I mean, she's practically shipping Cloudy.
Yes, exactly. That's exactly what it is. It's Aerith saying, you need to go get reunited with Tifa. You need to find your light. And once you do, you'll be in a better place. And you can come back and, be back with your friends. And not be alone all the time.
Exactly.
Because right now he's being a loner. You go to Hollow Bastion and he's separate from the rest of the group.
Mm-hmm. Because and look, these games don't just, you know, again, this isn't a bunch of monkeys in a and you know, they have that adage or whatever, a bunch of monkeys in a room hitting on typewriters, and Kingdom Hearts just spilled out. Like, somebody, like, human beings are creating these games, okay, and they're writing them, they're like designing everything that's gonna happen. If they wanted Aerith to be Cloud's Light, she would have just been Cloud's Light. If they wanted Aerith to be the one to have to help him fight off Sephiroth, she would have said, I'll come with you. He would have said, okay. Then they went and fought Sephiroth together, you know, even if she wasn't his life. But you know what I'm saying? Like, they could have just written that. Instead, Aerith is telling, just like how Aerith tells Tifa to follow her heart in chapter 12, and I think in English she does say help them, but in the Japanese it's just like, I can't stay here, I gotta go. Aerith knows what she's talking about. She's talking about Cloud. She says follow your heart. This is sort of the same thing. Like, you know, I know you gotta go and settle things with Sephiroth, and you need to find your light, aka Tifa. Go do that so you can, you know, stop being a mopey, you know, mopey dude, and yeah, your friends will be here when you get back. I'll be here when you get back.
Exactly.
What lover is going to tell him to go run off and find another woman? That's crazy.
Yeah, exactly. Aerith is always being shown to be the supportive friend.
Mm-hmm.
And she is supporting Cloud and Tifa right now. And she's supporting Cloud reuniting with Tifa because she knows he'll be miserable until he does. And if you think about it, it's very much reflected in Final Fantasy Remake, when Aerith is observing Cloud, you know, as he's watching Tifa be pulled away into Wall Market. She's like, oh no, you're going after her.
Yes.
Because she knows he'll be miserable until he does.
Oh yeah. I mean, and notice she didn't like jump in there, and they purposely changed this from Final Fantasy VII, where Aerith was actually the one that jumped out of nowhere and started chasing Tifa down. Aerith chases after Cloud for a second, but she lets them have their conversation, and she doesn't get involved. But she overhears what the conversation is, and she knows, I mean, the way that Cloud was just lingering, staring at that carriage as it went away, she was like, no, buddy, we going after her. And she says in that conversation, Tifa's your important person, isn't she? What? I mean, Aerith is no dummy. Okay, she got two eyes, she can see what's going on. The man just lied about the flower, and then he's calling out Tifa's name out of nowhere, and then as they're sitting in the park, he sees somebody's head a mile away, and he's like, Tifa! You know, she's putting two and two together.
Her like a bat out of hell. You know, she knows.
Absolutely. And then what's the lie that Aerith comes up with when Chocobo Sam is asking why they're looking for Tifa? You know, and Cloud's about to be himself, and yeah, she's like, you know, we got to save her from a life without this handsome guy. And Cloud nods. Okay. So yeah, that has been her role.
He doesn't argue with Chocobo Sam when he says, "Oh, it sounds like someone's got a bit of a crush."
Mm-hmm. and if you think
on it immediately,
exactly. And if you think about Kingdom Hearts in the context of having children, which we can because Cloud and Tifa are wearing their Avid Children outfits, what does Aerith do in Avid Children? When Cloud is saying, you know, he needs forgiveness, she's like, who you need forgiveness from? You don't need it from me. And then when he hears her again, what is the first thing that comes out of her mouth? She says, dilly dally shilly shally, mirroring what Tifa said to him. Okay, reminding him like, you already know. Okay, you need to forgive yourself. And then at the end of the game, or sorry, not the end of the game, near the end of the movie, what does she do? She yeets him back into life. It sends him to that church where Tifa's waiting for him. You know, and it's said to be his promised land. It's to be with Tifa and those kids. And Zack and Aerith are supposed to be in life. Like, so she was being a supportive friend in that as well. That's her role. Exactly. Yeah.
And to continue on, just, you know, continuing on this whole point, I believe this was also a Nojima interview in regards to Kingdom Hearts 2. And the discussion of, you know, of course, Tifa being the physical manifestation of Cloud's light, you know, of course, the conversation came up, well, what does Aerith represent? And Najima flat out said, Aerith is not a representative of either light or darkness. She's not a creature of light or darkness. She is separate from all of that. Mm-hmm. So she is not Cloud's light. They further emphasize that in that interview. That is a role specifically filled by Tifa.
Yes. I mean, it's not only clear in Kingdom Hearts, in the context of Kingdom Hearts, and I mean, you know, if I'm being generous, again, if you have absolutely no context to these characters, maybe you think maybe there's a tiny bit of something going on between Cloud and Aerith. I don't see it, but I again, I'm coming at it from someone who already knew all the context when I went in, so I'm just saying, you know, maybe. But once you know the context of somebody being somebody's light inside of this game, and the fact that it's Tifa, and you once you know, I mean, I guess that's what I'm saying. If I come into anything blind, if you just toss me into, you know, episode 3 of the 5th season of Game of Thrones, I'm not gonna know what the hell's going on as far as these characters, you know what I mean? But exactly. But there is an answer. Just because you don't know the answer or you refuse to acknowledge the answer doesn't mean there is not an answer. That's right. That's my problem. It's like, oh, well, I didn't know. Oh, it's the same thing when people talk about Ultimanias or whatever. Or Devin, oh, well, I never saw that, or why isn't it in the game? Well, yeah, you could make an argument for should some of this stuff have been in the game instead of buried in optional scenes or buried in the Ultimanias. You know, absolutely. Okay, sure. That's a conversation we can have. But it doesn't change the fact that it's true. Yeah. So just because you got the wrong impression from Kingdom Hearts 1 because 2 people had a conversation doesn't mean that they're the canon couple of the actual story, let alone Kingdom Hearts.
Exactly. And just discussing one other aspect that I forgot to bring up earlier. This was also from a Nojima interview. Basically, again, tying back to the fact that Tifa is Cloud's light, he mentioned something along the lines of, if anything were to happen to Tifa, I'm not sure if I mentioned this earlier, but
you did.
Mm-hmm. If anything were to happen to Tifa, Cloud would completely fall to the darkness and he would become a Heartless. Mm-hmm. She is the only thing keeping him from falling to the darkness.
Yes, and if you think about the darkness in the context of Final Fantasy VII, once again, you could consider his catatonic state as the darkness. You know, it's almost like the sunken place. You know, it's because he just becomes like Heartless become a shell of themselves, essentially. They just become you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying. You get what I'm saying.
And all the intelligence and aspects of themselves, they just become these creatures.
Yes, these hollow, you might say, creatures. So, in that same sense, yeah, Cloud was just a shell of himself when he was in those in that mental collapse, as they call it in Ultimania, while he was with Zack, and then once again after he thought he was a puppet. And in both times, Tifa is the one that fully awoke his mind and, you know, saved him from that hell that he was going through. But yeah, so I think we've debunked yet another myth. It just the goal I have in mind, just to wrap this up. Oh, I'm sorry, did you have any more points about Kingdom Hearts before we?
Well, I was going to bring up the manga briefly because
Mm-hmm.
In the Kingdom Hearts manga, if you read it, once Cloud and Tifa are finally reunited, they have a sweet moment where, you know, they have this little conversation, and I was trying to find the actual page of it. I know.
Yeah, I saw it recently.
I know Aria posted it very recently. I'm searching for it as we speak.
Yes, Aria, that's who it was. Let's see. Yeah, she was the one that's when I was mentioning the whole maternal figure thing.
Oh,
she was the one
found it. Okay. So,
yeah.
So the Kingdom Hearts manga starts off with Cloud and Tifa, and the conversation is this is Tifa talking. She says, "He got mad at me. Said something about looking for something important. I hope he finds it, whatever it is. And the panel with Cloud just shows him looking at Tifa with just this really sweet smile on his face. And then the next part, immediately after that, shows Aladdin and Jasmine together. And Aladdin says, I'm a lucky man being here with you like this. And then Jasmine responds with, people who care about each other will always be drawn together.
Oh, and I think that's a bit of a double entendre. So sweet.
So, I bring this up because a lot of the times, this is the crux of the argument for a lot of Cleriths, is that they say that in the credits of one of the versions of Kingdom Hearts 2, the moment of Cloud and Aerith's conversation is placed in what they call a romantic montage in the credits. But if you actually watch the credits, there's all kinds of different scenes that are take place in the credits. And yes, there are some Disney couples that are shown. But they will emphasize that, because Cloud and Aerith's scene was shown in this particular spot of the credits, that somehow means that they're a couple. But if that's the entire crux of your argument, is the placement of a scene that plays out in the game in a montage, what you call a montage, which is in reality just, scenes from the game in the credits, then that is not that's not proof. I'm sorry. Especially when in that same credit scene there's also, scenes of like Chip and Dale, there's scenes of Yuffie and Sid and stuff. So it is not romantic, because there are, much like any of the other games, especially put out by Square Enix, they like to take little scenes from the game and they put them playing as the credits are rolling. They're not trying to send some secret message through the credit scenes, for crying out loud.
Mm-hmm.
It's just credits.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
If that is the entire crux of your argument, then I'm sorry, you got nothing.
You really don't.
And like I said, all you have to do is look at the actual story here, and like this scene right here, even from the manga. Like, it's the manga, it's the games, it's the actual OG. Everything points to Cloud and Tifa.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I mean, again, you have to look at. You can't look at isolated things, and you can't look at a tiny piece of quote unquote evidence and make it to mean something grand about the entirety of the story. You need to look at a culmination of evidence. You need to look at a totality of evidence. The totality of evidence overwhelmingly supports Cloudy and Xaereth as the couples. And this is another way that that Kingdom Hearts, shouldn't be taken entirely seriously as far as shipping or the story in general, because the relationships that these characters have is completely different in a lot of cases than what they actually are. And the fact that like the fact that Zack doesn't seem to know Cloud or Aerith in the Kingdom Hearts universe. So it's just silly to even bring up as canon evidence or anything. But when it comes specifically to this love triangle debate, even Kingdom Hearts supports Cloudy. Absolutely. So
yep,
that's all we're saying is we don't take it as Cloudy is canon because of Kingdom Hearts. We're saying Cloudy is canon and Kingdom Hearts supports it. It's two different things.
Yes, that is exactly what it is. You have to look at the OG as the blueprint, as the gold standard there.
Mm-hmm.
And because of what happens in the Final Fantasy VII compilation, in the Final Fantasy original game, in the actual just the FF7 franchise as a whole, because of what happens there, it is reflected in these spin-offs. You don't go to the spin-offs for your proof and then try to apply it to the main game. You look at the main game, you see what the main game has to say, and then you go and look at the spin-offs and use the context of the main game to look at what happens in these spin-offs to give you the context. That's how you're supposed to do it. That's common sense. But apparently, common sense is in short supply in this fandom.
As they say, common sense is not common. So
it's not common anymore. So unfortunately, that being said, you can also apply that to other games like Mobius and Dissidia and Ergeist and any of these other games, all these other spin-offs that they come up with in like Dissidia Duodecim.
Duodecim,
sure,
yeah.
Duodecim. I know I'm butchering it.
And we're we'll probably eventually get to all of these because I'd like to talk about Itadaki Street. I definitely like to talk about Mobius, even the new Dissidia, the 2018-ish or whenever it came out. Even that supports Clouty. Tifa's opening is nothing but Clouty.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah. So.
And Aerith wasn't even added to that game, I might add.
No, she wasn't. Just the Nibelheim Trinity, the Nibelheim Trio, which Sephiroth, Tifa, and Cloud. And when you look at Tifa's opening, she is fighting with Cloud by her side. And you can have 3 characters, so this is a purposeful decision. They only put Cloud next to her, and then they're both fighting Sephiroth, and then it ends with her saying, "Words aren't the only way to tell someone how you feel." I mean, come on, even Final Fantasy 14 supports Cloudy. I mean, it's just like, come on. It just man. Anyway, yeah,
it's like I'm sure we could probably make a separate Mythbusters episode for each of these games.
Absolutely. Especially I definitely want to deep dive more into Mobius and Duodecim. So we're going to do that for sure. And then also, just because Airborne Brigade is lied on about so much, I would love to do one on that. Even the Kingdom Hearts spinoff games, he's given her chocolates. They're holding hands in the background. I was just like, come on. I can't. That's why I'm glad for a remake, and we'll close this up, but that's why I'm glad for a remake, because they know the mistakes they made in the past were just, frankly, I think it was just Enix kind of just dicking around a little bit, like, if these people want to keep buying this stuff thinking that a 2-minute conversation means that their ship is canon, whatever, just let them fine with us, but they realize that they've got to just nail this. If they don't want this LTD war to be their legacy, they have just got to be brutally honest with people and remake it. So far they're definitely on their way there. Obviously Rebirth will Rebirth will definitely make a break in general, you know what I'm saying, as far as Final Fantasy.
Even just
the game.
Just the game itself, exactly. I mean, people are they left Rebirth they left Remake very split. They're and this is more than just this is actually more to do with just the story in general, more than just some LTD conversation. This is more like, okay, people are concerned like the entire story is going to change now, and there's all this huge debate about, they're going to ruin everything, they're going to change everything, or, well, I want them to change everything, and then I have to sit there and scratch my head and go, well, why are you a fan of FF7 at all if you want to change everything? Like, that don't make no sense.
Well, I'm going to plead the fifth on that, but I'm going to keep my mouth shut on that.
That's a whole nother podcast for another day.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, this was fun. Yeah, so, Clotiween once again, happening the 24th through the 28th. It is at Cloud Tifa events. Again, fan fiction, fan arts, gifts, screenshots of the game if you want to do like mods. I mean, pretty much anything you could think of, that's Cloudy and would fit the prompts. Please contribute. And what is we're just doing Clotiween, or we're doing Clotiween 2022 for the hashtag?
We are doing Clotiween 22 for the hashtag.
Clotiween 22. Okay, hashtag Clotiween 22. Please just tag. I know a lot of us will be retweeting. The main account will be retweeting stuff as well. So, yeah, thank you so much, everybody. And we'll see you next time on LTD Mythbusters.
All right. Thank you.
This is Stygian Stilettos Gamer, and I am hashtag out of here, honey.